Good evening, you are watching Episodes. With you today is Maria VAKULYUK, and we are going to talk about news from the east. What is the situation in the Bakhmut direction? Help for the front. A charity mission from Kiev delivered everything necessary for the military near Vuhledar. Humor as a weapon. How Ukrainians use jokes to cope with war and boost morale. War, human and pets. Stories of separation and finding new four-legged friends during the war. Candles that save environment. How is plastic creatively recycled in Zhytomyr? Our correspondent Victoria GAVRYUSHOVA has just returned from the Bakhmut and Avdiivka regions. See more about the situation in the city of Bakhmut, which has become the fortress of resistance and Easter celebration on the front lines.
At 7 o'clock in the morning, we are already in the Donetsk region. We are going to meet our defenders defending the Bakhmut and Avdiivka direction. So, let's go! We are going with Rimas, a volunteer from Lithuania. His mood is as always upbeat.
Let's visit the boys, they are waiting. A full bus of essential supplies. Everything will be Ukraine, victory will be ours.
And of course, a photo for the memories. Next, we pass through Kramatorsk. In Slavyansk, people ride bicycles. Despite the shelling, life in the city continues. Thanks to caring Lithuanians and Ukrainians, more than 15 brigades have received generation, ammunition, raincoats, high-quality camouflage nets, and medicine during this trip. And of course, it's almost Easter on the calendar. The military did not leave me without a gift either. And this is Jazz. She serves in the brigade which is defending the Bakhmut region. She said that despite the constant fighting there, morale among soldiers remain high. She admires that helps everyone to stand firm.
We joke all the time. In fact, it seems that when you're sitting on the ground and there is shelling overhead, in such situations it isn't all that funny. But we constantly have funny things going on. If we didn't laugh, we'd go crazy. That's why we try to keep hold of ourselves, make decisions with cool heads. It's all difficult, it's not easy. Things often seem completely different. Events that happened 5 days ago or a week ago, in our minds it seems that 3 months have passed. Time goes by completely differently.
And this is what spring looks like in the east. Of course, it's difficult to pass by this car, it's a beauty. We wish there were more of them for our defenders. And this is what it looks like on the inside. And this is the Airborne Assault Brigade. They defend Bakhmut. We have a special gift for them, a drone. A serviceman with the nom de guerre Billy says that despite the weather which interferes with the fighting, the city is holding on heroically.
There are many guys from other units here who help us hold the line. The last roads into Bakhmut, which allows us to hold our defense for a certain time. At the moment, everything is going well. The guys are moving heroically, occupying positions, holding out under hard rockets, FAB bombs, mortars, SPD generate launchers, everything created by the enemy country. Bravery holding their positions, and we cover them from the sky with the help of drones.
It looks something like this. This is the same Mavic that we handed over to the military already in operation.
We are trying to hold this direction as much as possible. No one is giving up. It's already clear that we will stand to the last, to the end, if it is the will of God. We'll hold on, and from here we'll go to the good place for a further offensive up to the borders of our country.
And we go on. The beauty of Kurakhova. And 10 kilometers to the front line, and there is no road there, like here. Probably this is the most difficult moment during our entire trip. There is just an ocean ahead of us. You can't call it otherwise. We are swimming. Time to go back. I'm happy because everything needed, at least for now, we managed to hand over to our defenders.
Since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, the towns of Mariinka, Kurakhova and Vuhledar have been the front line of defense for the Ukrainian armed forces in the Donbass. Volunteers from Kiev decided to help the front line and brought everything the military needed, from food to generators and thermal imagers.
Now we are in Kurakhova city on the Donbass, and here we will participate in giving humanitarian aid for local people and for children. It will be people of Kurakhova, of villages Katarinivka and Khrystyna. People living in the villages near Vuhledar and Mariinka face numerous problems with food, medicine and other vital needs. Here they can only rely on the Ukrainian military and a few volunteers who risk delivering food on the front line. In particular, during this trip we had the chance to visit the village of Yelizavetivka, located 5 kilometers from Marinka. We were there at night, so the number of photos and videos is limited. However, the goal was achieved. People received food packages of sausages, groats, drinking water and sweets. After helping the locals, volunteers of the Cerberus Foundation of Member of the Parliament Sviatoslav Jurash went to the soldiers of 72nd Mechanized Brigade. The road was not easy, but our defenders met us with joy on their faces. Generators, thermal imagers, sights, food and daily care products were supplied to the base. In general, the trip was not surprising, except for a few shellings which were not captured on camera. The Cerberus Foundation has already started preparing new equipment to be sent to the front line again.
Knock knock, who's there? Here's a story by me and Erika BORTNIK about the humor and war. Do people in the West know where the Russian warship should go? Let's find out. Putin goes to a barber shop. The barber cuts his hair and keeps asking about Ukraine. How are people doing there? When will the war end? Putin gets nervous. You are so concerned with Ukraine, right? Not at all, sir. I'm totally indifferent. Why do you then constantly ask about Ukraine? Because each time I say Ukraine, your hair stands up and it's so easier to cut. I found this joke on a popular American website. We often use humor in Ukraine to cope with our harsh reality. Of course, the war brings a lot of sorrow, but even in such dark times, we haven't lost our sense of humor. Jokes about Russian aggression have become our weapon to boost morale. Surprisingly, such jokes are also popular among our allies in the West. Here's a famous Ukrainian meme on an American TV. It appeared at the beginning of the full-scale invasion.
It's already confusing enough that it's in kilometers, but the company also posted an edited photo of a road sign where the directions had been replaced with phrases that translate as "go yourself," "go yourself again," "go yourself back in Russia."
To some extent, this represents a victory of Ukraine's cultural diplomacy. Foreigners are fascinated by our ability to use humor as a weapon and often retell our jokes to their audiences.
This is Joey's continuous TikTok page. He's a reporter from New York. Here he comments emojis on Ukrainian Prime Minister's plane.
And praying, or please. That's right. Ukrainians put these stickers on their plane as they go to different countries, as, taking photos is a great advertisement, but please help us get some planes.
So, humor really is just a weapon for us. Just look at the Ukrainian Meme Forces Twitter page, which has a large foreign audience.
The page has more than 300,000 followers. They make jokes about infirmity of United Nations, for example, or about Medvedev, Russian ex-prime minister. Did you know that Putin has a dog? Well, not a real one.
Finally, do you remember how many memes were made using Zelensky's previous career as a showman? The West appreciated this too.
Also, back in 2006, Zelensky won the Ukrainian version of Dancing with the Stars. Check out the man's moves.
Erika BORTNIK and Maria VAKULYUK for episodes. The war reminded us of the value of family and loved ones. Thousands of Ukrainian families are experiencing separation, in particular with their pets. Yet some have found new four-legged friends during the war. Our journalist Sofiia LAZAROVA tells heartwarming stories about the challenges of the distance and great love.
The war separated thousands of Ukrainian families. Many people also left their pets in Ukraine, being forced to evacuate abroad. 10th grader Vika Moroz fled to the United States in the first weeks of the full-scale war. She left her beloved cat named Steve at home in Kyiv with her grandfather. They have been together since 2016, but now there are thousands of kilometers and the Atlantic Ocean between them.
It was very hard for me to be like in this long distance relationship with him. I was really missing my cat, and a lot of my friends here had pets, and I felt sad that my pet is so far away. And I think about him every day. I even have a photo of him in my kitchen to look and probably be a little happier about that.
It's very complicated and expensive to take the cat from Kyiv to the United States. Vika hopes for a quick reunion with her loved ones as soon as Ukraine wins the war.
Now to actually bring a pet through the Polish border and like from Ukraine, you need a lot of documents like vaccine certificates, a new passport type, and like all those stuff. Even the document that you're not going to sell him. So I'm just waiting probably to return to Ukraine and be with him.
Others, on the contrary, were brought together by fate during the war. Yulia Zhiter, a student at Taras Shevchenko Kyiv National University, took home Khmarynka, a small kitten she found in her grandmother's village in the Kyiv region.
My grandma was feeding her and her little brothers and sisters, but she didn't want to take her home. But Khmarka was way too small, and we weren't sure that she will be alive. She will survive in the winter. So it was a spontaneous decision, but we understood that we could not allow this to happen.
Yulia got a cat for the first time in her life precisely during the war. It was very worrying for her to take responsibility for another life, even she was not sure about her own safety.
When there was a bombing in Kyiv, we were hiding at this bed because actually I wasn't worried about my safety, but I was really worried about the safety of my cat. And it was really terrible and horrible experience, but not for her. Fortunately, she wasn't in stress during all of this bombing, and actually when we heard the explosions in Kyiv, she was sleeping.
With Khmarynka, Yulia went through not only missile attacks but also through frequent power outages. Blackouts with a small kitten also brought some new challenges.
So during blackouts in Ukraine, in my city, we were afraid of harm her because she was too tiny. Also, she's gray, black somewhere. And in the darkness we couldn't see her. So we bought her a reflective collar.
But Yulia is sure that great love will help to deal with all difficulties.
Despite all of the problems and all of our worries and all of her illnesses, bringing her home was the best decision I've ever made.
Sofiia Lazarova for episodes.
The production volume of plastic waste is about 9 billion tons per year, and this figure is increasing every year. Less than 10% of it is recycled. In what creative way is plastic processed in Zhytomyr? Our journalist Victoria Pisarenko will report on this.
Sorting garbage and reusing plastic and glass is not a trend, but a guarantee of saving our planet. Anastasia from Zhytomyr turns old cans into real art.
I created my first candle back in the fall. I was inspired by the beauty of our nature, which is constantly polluted with secondary raw materials. I wanted to turn some waste into something useful and beautiful. The mission of my brand is Будь добрым, to be kind to yourself, to each other and to our nature.
Anastasia is sure that giving an old bottle a new life is simple, and it takes about 20 minutes for her. But these 20 minutes can keep our environment clean. Everyone can make their city or country cleaner. They just need to start with themselves and at least start sorting garbage. Victoria Pisarenko, especially for episodes.
That's all for now from me. My colleague Serhii TARANENKO will continue today's episodes with news on culture and more. Hello Serhii, what is the news?
Hello Maria, thank you. In this part we will talk about the following. Student activities continue at Kyiv Mohyla Academy despite the ongoing Russian war. We are asking students what they are doing and what their plans are. The Ukrainian fashion industry during the war. How do Ukrainians maintain their passion for esports, create new teams and manage to compete with top players? How the Russian full-scale invasion has changed Ukrainian literature. The Ukrainian premiere of Antonio Lukic's new film Luxembourg, Luxembourg. Kyiv Mohyla Academy is well known for its diverse and vibrant student community. Besides their daily routines, students are holding daily offline events, exhibitions, and are even conducting rehearsals for a future play. Our journalists Maria VAKULYUK and Serhii FIRAK ask people about their plans for offline events.
We are currently in the concert hall of Kyiv Mohyla Academy. Right now it's empty, but very soon it will be full of people dancing, singing, just watching the performance. We talked to some of the organizers of offline events in Kyiv Mohyla Academy that will happen in the nearest future. Let's see what they have to say.
The time of pandemic and then the full-scale invasion forced everyone to go online. And not so long ago, the university had significant live events all during the year. However, things are changing. Even with danger of war, life is still running in university, because students want it so. Maria with her friends plan a big play this June. It will tell the story of 6 friends and how this company survived the first 3 months of a full-scale invasion. Preparations have been ongoing since October 22. The organizers hope that the audience will be affected by the characters' fates, that everyone will find a reflection of their own experiences in this challenging time. Let's hear what they are planning.
Yeah, for sure, and I think it's actually important to share these emotions because we have such wise, I guess, dialogues and words which we were creating are really relatable to us, to our living of these times, and I think that they will actually be so close to a lot of people, and it's important just for them to understand that they are not alone with these feelings and with what they are living through, so I guess.
Another significant event in Mohyla, which used to gather thousands of people, is Вечір знайомств. It had to be postponed from November to the indefinite time because Russia began shelling the energy infrastructure. However, we asked Andrei how his team plans to hold this important event for the community.
We haven't unfrozen the event preparation yet, because that session is currently in progress, and we plan to start after it ends. We have fears that freshers' interest has decreased over this year, and they will not want to prepare the Вечір знайомств, and we cannot force them. This event was always based on the desire of first-year students to create something new. Now we are afraid that this year event will not take place at all. However, we hope that despite everything, we can implement our plan.
As we were living Culture and Art Center, we met Danilo, who has been photographing events at the university for several years in a row. Immediately at the entrance of the building is a small exhibition of his photos, which remind us of the times when life inside was different.
I took in Kyiv Mohyla Academy. Some of them were taken in 2020, as you can see over there. I mean, it was the time where offline events were. It was like a normal occasion to have an offline event in Kyiv Mohyla Academy before the COVID-19 pandemic. Then there were several photographs from different protests that students of Kyiv Mohyla Academy took part in, and there are also several photos of different events.
We hope this hall will be crowded again like a few years ago. At least the people in our story are doing everything possible for this. Maria VAKULYUK, Serhii FIRAK for episodes.
How is Ukrainian fashion developing? What brands are current now? A stylist working with the magazine Vogue Ukraine will give us answers to these questions. More details in the story by Eugene, SYUYVA and Anastasia KAHANIUK.
Today, I have the opportunity to talk with one of the most famous Ukrainian stylists, Khrystyna. He will tell about his vision of fashion in Ukraine. Which brand's clothing style do you like the most in Ukraine?
I can immediately say that due to the fact that I work with a large number of Ukrainian designers, even after a full-scale invasion, my taste in clothes has changed a lot. Now the brands that remain certain favorites for me, and I believe that they are great specialists because even in difficult times they were able to continue working. These are: firstly, conceptual designer clothing with sense, Julia Cross. The second brand, which for me is also a definite favorite, is Apsara by Pisarova. The brand recycles old clothes. It's very cool that clothes have a second life. And the third brand that has become my favorite and has an interesting positioning is Montblanc.
How do you think, has the popularity of our brands increased abroad since the full-scale invasion?
In fact, our brands have grown and performed well in the European market. For many, this once again was probably the moment of a complete reboot. The first moment was quarantine, which forced to reconsider themselves. Now most brands have found more opportunities to enter the European market and develop themselves. Internal quality and policies have grown by 60%, so they are more competitive in the European market.
Мене звуть Євген SYUYVA, і сьогодні ми з вами дізнаємось, яким саме чином розвивається українська фешн-індустрія під час повномасштабного вторгнення, а також поспілкуємось із стилістами, які співпрацюють з ВОК Україна, які нам нададуть декілька порад, які бренди зараз обрати як з одягу, так і з аксесуарів. So, hello, Anna. I'm very grateful that you agreed for this small interview. So I think we can start. So I would like to ask you, what is your experience in work with Vogue Ukraine? How was it?
First of all, it's my dog. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to take part in this interview, and thank you for having me here. Yeah, so just a little bit the general facts about me, so people would know who I am and what to represent in this whole world. So I've been a part of the fashion industry, Ukrainian fashion industry, since 2021. I graduated Kyiv Academy of Media Arts on a fashion course, and it's when I started my experience as a fashion stylist, particularly in a project with Vogue Ukraine. So all of us, we had a big task with research, to research how designers from the whole world represent identity code, like cultural code, in their clothes and their makings and their goods. So we done like a really big research. Like we discovered some young fashion designers and as well as some well-known. And then we had a photo shoot with the greatest art photographer, Vasilina. She took very nice pictures, and we collaborated with established Ukrainian designers such as Anton Belinsky, Ksenia Schneider, Tattoo Sweaters, and many others. And we showed in this photo shoot how our Ukrainian designers represent an identity code, cultural code in their clothes. So it was such a great experience, and to be honest, my heart melted when I saw my name in the graph on the Vogue page in the fashion stylist. Yeah, so my goal is to see as many as possible projects with my name on it.
Which 3 Ukrainian accessory brands you can recommend?
All right, so 2 out of 3, I work with them, but I work with them because they're really nice. So first brand is Smotrich Studio. I love the concept behind this brand, because the designer, she took only one item at the base for every jewelry. So it's a pin, it's closed. That you can like open and close. And this pin, she transformed into many different in various ways. So it's this pin, it looks like a necklace, like a bracelet, like a ring, earring, and everything. So it's only one item, but it looks very different at the same time. But the collection looks full and unique and united because she used only one item. and it's all silver, so you can wear it whenever you want, and it can be bright, it can be dull, it can be everything. Second brand is as well as jewelry. It's romantica jewelry. I like that they use some bright materials like gold, but you can wear gold necklace just for the casual lunch with your friends, like a brunch, and then you can wear the same necklace on a fancy dinner date. So it's very convenient. You don't have to change it every time. It looks fancy and niche at the same time. And the last one, but not least, is Khvoya. It's well-known Ukrainian brand. They are known for their shoes and their bags. I have many pairs of shoes because the quality is great and the designs are great as well. But bags, I find really good for value because they are all leather, and if you buy them, like they're, I mean, the average price is $150. So it's like an average, but you can wear it like for years. So it's a great quality for quite good money.
Is the development of the Ukrainian fashion, and what are the prospects of it in future? How do you see it?
Yeah, so it's a nice question. I can talk about it for hours, but I just want to start with the fact that our fashion industry, independent fashion industry, is really young. Since our independence is only 32 years. But I think the great push for our industry was when in 1997, Ukrainian Fashion Week was run first. So this allowed many fashion designers to introduce themselves, their perception, their talents, their making to the whole world. So the fashion industry of the whole world, now they're aware that we can do fashion here. We are capable of it. So we discovered a lot of great names, great people in Ukrainian fashion weeks. Now a lot of our designers they take part in many fashion weeks like Paris Fashion Week, London, New York fashion weeks like Lili Letkovska, Bevza, Ksenia Schneider, Frollo, and so many others, as well as many artists. I mean, like stylists, photographers, models, fashion hair, makeup and hair artists. They are now everywhere, and they're and we have even like a fashion elite that works for great worldwide known fashion brands. And I think it's a really great achievement and development since our fashion industry is so young. And of course, the full-scale invasion Russia has started 24th of February of 2022 had a horrible impact on everyone and fashion industry as well. But we show that we are capable and of resistance to anything. So we have many local brands that produce when there was blackout in Kiev, when we were bomb shelters, bomb shelters. So and we show the world that we are resistant, independent, and free. That's why I see our future as the leading fashion industry, because I think the future of fashion is only about free worldview and perception, and this is our identification code, like freedom. So I think our fashion industry will run the world. I'm sure about it. And we have really great people that are innovative, and they will make changes to the whole fashion world, because they already made some changes, and we're gonna do some great changes, and no one can stop us. So I think in future 10 years, after the great victory of our great victory, Ukrainian Fashion Week will be all in our fashion designers and all of the people from all of the world, just to see who we are, just to touch us.
Ukrainian esports have always been in top form since its inception. In 2022, it became much harder for Ukrainian esports players to participate on the competitive scene due to the war. However, despite all the difficulties, new teams are emerging and showing good results in popular esports games such as Counter-Strike and Dota.
We are at Dnipro, esport capital of Ukraine. This is cyber sport arena. Tournaments used to be held here. But now, it's really difficult for players to participate in such events because of well-known reasons. Russia's full invasion in Ukraine. But at the moment, there are currently some players that are training. Ukrainians really do have their passion for esport. Maybe it's the main reason why cybersport scene in Ukraine is developing so rapidly in 2023.
For the Blast Spring Final Grand Champions, Na'Vi!
This is a famous Ukrainian team, Na'Vi. They have been on top of esports since its very beginning. Everyone from the esports scene knows them for their great achievements, but they were the only Ukrainian organization for years that shone bright among European and American teams, up until now. With the Russian full invasion in Ukraine in 2022, many Ukrainians came to the realization that it is now impossible to work with Russians. Esports wasn't an exception. This led to the bloom of Ukrainian teams in such famous esports games as Counter-Strike, Dota and Valorant. A big Ukrainian broadcasting company, Maincast, which was one of the greatest in coverage of esports events, fully switched from the Russian language to Ukrainian, therefore giving a boost to the whole Ukrainian scene. Players have become even more prominent figures in the esports world, inspiring a new generation of Ukrainian gamers and bringing attention to the country's esports.
Russian-Ukrainian war has changed our perception of life, politics and culture. In my story, you will hear how war has changed Ukrainian literature. Ukrainian literature, like all other phenomena in our country, is significantly affected by the war. If earlier we talked about veteran and volunteer prose, then, after February 24th last year, the topic of the Russian-Ukrainian war became one of the cornerstones of all Ukrainian literature. Now Russian aggression has reached a new level. For a year now we have been living in a situation of mobilization, rocket fire and constant destruction. War has already changed, but how war literature has changed compared to what we had by 2022. The first reactions to the start of full-scale invasion were memes, jokes, and with time poetry began to appear. And this poetry is no longer consists of regret, sorrow and sadness. Completely different archetypes came: struggle and victory. Hanna Skorina, a researcher of military literature, says that now she sees the same process that took place in 2014. Most books are written by civilian authors. This is understandable, because those who are currently fighting will either start writing after returning or keep online diaries on social networks or notes on smartphones, and it is quite possible that these records will become books in the future. However, if we talk about the sense of new war prose, then the researchers note that the image of Ukraine that was crying, confused and caught in Great Depression really prevailed at that time. And now we see women with javelins, we see warriors, a true warrior spirit, and poetry becomes approximately the same. And even if these are stories of injuries, the pain of evacuation, losses, it's still not a story about victims, broken people, but about those who are ready to fight to the last. Serhii TARANENKO for episodes. The new Ukrainian movie Luxembourg, directed by Antonio Lukic, was finally shown in Ukraine. The world premiere took place at the 79th Venice International Film Festival last year. This week, the movie was eventually shown in Ukrainian cinemas. Our correspondent Vladyslav MUSIEVSKYI reports on a few interesting facts about the movie and explains how and when it can be seen.
Ukrainian citizens finally got a chance to see the new movie directed by Antonio Lukic, a famous Ukrainian director who is also known for his previous movie My Thoughts Are Silent. The official world premiere took place at the 79th Venice International Film Festival in September last year. However, the Ukrainian pre-premiere took place in the hometown of main actors Emil and Ramil Nasirovs in Selo Bliznyuki, Kharkiv Oblast, on 5th of April. The movie tells us a story about two twin brothers, Kolya and Vasya from Lubny, Poltava Oblast, who found out that their father, whom they don't don't even remember, is going to die soon. Therefore, the brothers decided to go to the Luxembourg to say goodbye to their father, who turns out to be a criminal authority. What adventures are waiting for Kolya and Vasya during their trip? Will they manage to finally meet their father? Look for the answers for your questions in the nearest movie theater from the 17th of April.
That's all for now. Thanks you for watching episodes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Mohyla School of Journalism for more. Your host was Serhii, and we will meet next week for our final program. Glory to Ukraine!